Basically, you have to understand what is the design thinking process and what is human-centered design means. That would be the two first approach. And these things are like more, I might would say like psychological, or sort of it's not like technical skills like building up a portfolio or using Figma or designing, whatever. It's more like just understanding what UX, user experience design, is about, right? Our job is to like basically solving problems and then creating like a design solution for them, right? But this comes from understanding people, understanding their behavior, understanding their patterns, and also understanding like how you can make a design which is going to solve those problems. That would be the first thing. The best way of doing that, yeah, of course, like reading books, but I would rather recommend picking up either like a cheap course or like an accessible course, I would rather say. But I recommend either a Coursera Google certificate. I'm sure if you did any research in that, you heard about it. Yeah, Interaction Design Foundation. So basically what you want to do is like either pick up any of those. It doesn't really matter though, all of them are like equally good. And what they're going to do to you, first of all, they're going to teach like the way of thinking about user experience in general. Around like the half of the course, you're going to transition from like, okay, now you know what user experience design is. Now you know how to do the research, how to do this and that. Now you actually have to do this. And this is the most important part, because actually this course is going to walk you through like, okay, how to carry out like an actual project. And they're going to give you like guidance of like, okay, these are the different research methods which you have to do. This is how you can do a survey. This is how you can do an interview, blah, 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 blah. This is how you have to find the right problem. This is how to set up a hypothesis of like how you're going to solve the problem, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they're going to walk you through the design process. It's going to take a couple of months. So I just want to warn you that if you want to transition, it's not something that you just put in your designs here and then like hoping that company is going to hire you, because unfortunately it's not that easy nowadays. But it's going to take at least a few months from your time if you're doing these certificates. And I highly, highly, highly recommend doing those. And even though if you want to do it faster, I rather recommend just focusing on like getting better at UX design, human-centered design, design thinking in general, product strategy. What you should also read is the Sprint. Just read the Sprint book, which is going to walk you through like the product development process in general, which is basically following, by the way, the design thinking process. So they are kind of connected. And it's also like giving like a lot of tangible examples in terms of like, you know, what is UX UI design on a fundamental level. So basically you just want to learn for now, okay? That's your first main objective. And then if you are doing any of those courses, I think they are like really, really cheap, like, I don't know, $27 a month or something, or like $30, something like this. After you have like one project, then you have to create actually 2 other projects as well. And that would be the second objective of like having like at least 3 projects where you are basically going through the design thinking process steps. Because even though in real life, and it sounds a little bit weird maybe, but in real life we are not actually using all of these steps, but we have to, as designers inside the company, inside the project, you have to know like which stage are you at of the process. And if you want to be a good designer, you have to understand all the steps inside the process. The reason why I want you to make a certificate and a course, because they're going to walk you through all of these steps. And also the project, if you're following the course steps, they're going to walk you through how to create a project like this, which is going to include all of the steps. And it's also going to be the third objective, that once you have 2 to 3 projects where you are going through the whole design thinking process, you can create case studies out of those projects. And this is the part which I'm more or less teaching in my school community or in my group, that basically how to turn those projects into actual case studies and a portfolio. And at the end of the day, if you're going to have a portfolio where you have 3 of your projects included, and having like a nice, well put together case study, which is walking through the reader of the different steps which you've taken, and it's also going to be like a nicely done design as well. It's also important, but I think it's not a problem for you because you are designing like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago already. So I think for you, it's more important to understand the background, sort of the thinking process behind all of these things. And if you got that, so basically you know what is the design thinking process, what are the different steps, you have your projects, you have your portfolio, then you can start applying for jobs. Basically that would be the steps which you need to follow. And I think realistically what you can do, if you start it now and you are actually dedicating your free time for all of this, then inside like 6 months you should get to a point where you're going to have, realistically, where you're going to have your portfolio ready, and then you can start applying for companies with your portfolio. That's going to be another topic in itself of like, we are transitioning into like the job hunting section, where you already have basically everything which is needed for finding a job, and then there are like other stuff which you can do of like optimizing your CV, optimizing your LinkedIn, how to apply, doing the interviews. But I think for now you don't have to be worried about all of those things. So basically that would be, I think, like really simply explained of like what is needed to find a job. As I said, realistically, I think if you actually dedicate yourself to it, and I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, it's like, if you're following everything which I said, within like 6 months you can get to a level, and I can say this because you are already at a good level in terms of like your design skills, but that would be like a step-by-step guide.